Hello. How's it going? What's up? I might I might regret this. So here's the deal. Um, I have here the DSM-5 and I want to read it. So I'm going to read it. Um, it's possible that uh, it's possible that this is a very bad idea, but it's also possible that it's a very good idea. And so I will do it with this title. Let's go. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, DSM-5. So right off the bat, we've got a great table of contents: neurodevelopmental disorders, schizophrenia spectrum, and other psychotic disorders, bipolar and related disorders, depressive disorders, anxiety disorders. Um, so, and given the trajectory of the channel, despite the title here, listen, I'm here to learn, okay? I've never read the DSM-5. I've never flipped it over. I've never flipped it open. I've never really dug deep into what they're saying here. So listen, despite the title, I'm here to learn. Hopefully you're here to learn too, all right? So if there is a suggestion from the audience, I will flip to that part of the table of contents. And I'll just go there. I'll just go with whatever you guys want to do. So we've got section 1, the DSM-5 basics. I think we can pretty much skip that one. Section 2, diagnostic criteria and codes. I view the DSM-5 a lot like Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. I'm kidding. Section 3, emerging measures and models. All right. So let's see. Just do all of it. Yeah, this is immediately hell. Great. I love it. Wonderful. Okay. Associated with a known medical or genetic condition or environmental factor associated with another neurodevelopmental, mental, or behavioral disorder. Specify occurrence severity for criterion A. I was really thinking this would be written in English, like plain English. So already we're off to a great start. However, okay, side note, I have a backup plan, which is this paper from Thomas S. Zaz, and he wrote this thing called The Myth of Mental Illness, which I also have been trying to get around to read, as was suggested to me by one of my patrons. All right, you know what? This is the last time I take advice from my audience, all right? We're less than 5 minutes in, boom, authoritarianism time. I'm going to just read whatever I want to read, okay? Schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders. We're going to 87. All right, we're going to learn. So let's see. We've got schizotypal personality disorder, delusional disorder. Wow, those are close together. Huh. Okay, I might have already lost the page. We're off to a great start. I'm an entertaining streamer. You know what? If I just streamed Minecraft, I would get 1 million more viewers, and people would have lower expectations for me to be entertaining, because there would be constantly just be bright colors flashing in front of your eyes, and you'd be entertained. It would be like you were playing. It would be like you had friends. No. I gotta stay focused here. Okay. All right, listen. I may have already lost my place. All right. Look, I'm a great streamer. Everybody loves me. Yes, yes. Okay, we're gonna go back to schizophrenia, spectrum, and other psychotic disorders. So 87. All right. I'm pretty sure I went to 87 and I got autism. I don't know if that's like the. Don't take that out of context. Wow, this was a horrible idea. Okay. You see what I mean? Oh, it's because I go to 87 of the PDF, but that's 50, which is autism. All right. Please, no reference to anything that's going to get this stream banned. Okay, fellas? Okay? Good. Good. Okay. Oh dear. Schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders. Okay. Schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders include schizophrenia, other psychotic disorders, and schizotypal personality disorder. Schizotypal personality disorder, that's a fun one. You're more likely to be schizotypal if you have a schizophrenic family member. And it's sort of just the idea that like schizophrenia exists on a line, and like you can like be somewhere on that line, on that spectrum. By the way, if you're here for the political content, you can view this stream as like sort of like as a meta ideology review of radical mental health, which is an ideology. You can look that up, given the title. But it's also an unironic like, ooh, I gotta figure out what I'm talking about when I spew nonsense about psychology. Delusions are fixed beliefs that are not amenable to change in light of conflicting evidence. Yeah. Their content may include a variety of themes. Persecutory delusions are most common, so that's like paranoid schizophrenia, I guess. Referential delusions are also common. Referential, like delusions of reference, is when like, like you're like listening to the radio and you think the radio's talking to you. Grandiose delusions, that's when you think that you're like an important YouTuber when you're actually just like a loser alone in your room. Erotomantic delusions are also seen. When an individual believes falsely that another person is in love with him or her. You've all got that, don't you? Yeah. Nihilistic delusions involve the conviction that a major catastrophe will occur. I don't like I don't like what this is saying already. Somatic delusions. By the way, if I say something and you're like, wow, this is so me, stop having that thought. Stop it. Or if you're gonna have that thought, like, don't Google it. Just talk to someone else. I don't want any responsibility for that. Somatic delusions focus on preoccupation regarding health and organ function. Delusions are deemed bizarre if they are clearly implausible and not understandable to same culture peers, and do not derive from ordinary life experiences. That's an interesting point, because like you can have delusions that like they're like, oh my, like I'm being haunted by a ghost. But if you live in a culture where everybody thinks that they have like a guardian spirit, it's not a schizophrenic delusion. It's only when your schizophrenia starts being like a delusion to the point where like another dude is like even the guy's like, well, yeah, I have a guardian spirit, but he's a nice guardian spirit and you have an evil guardian spirit. That's weird. Like that doesn't happen, So that's the whole point of basing it in culture. Okay. I have a schizophrenic family member and I get paranoid that I'm schizophrenic at least like 4 times a week. Yeah, I mean, it's a good reason to be paranoid. Okay, let's see. Delusions are deemed bizarre if they're clearly implausible, and an example of bizarre delusion is the belief that an outside force has removed his or her internal organs, replaced them with someone else's organs, without leaving any wounds or scars. Wow, is this the body without organs? That's right. 2% of you philosophy majors understood what I talked about there. Boom. Let's see here. An example of a non-bizarre delusion is the belief that one is under surveillance by the police. Because you could be under surveillance from the police. Like for example, if you're making delusions that express a loss of control over mind or body are generally considered to be bizarre. These include the belief that one's thoughts have been removed by some outside force, that's thought withdrawal. Alien thoughts have been put into one's mind, thought insertion, or that one's body or actions are being acted on or manipulated by some outside force, delusions of control. The distinction between delusion and a strongly held idea is sometimes difficult to make and depends in part on the degree of conviction with which the belief is held, despite clear or reasonable contrary evidence regarding its veracity. So yeah, I suppose you can why am I reading my own chat? I regret it every time I do that. I have one mod, I think. Oh dear. You know what? He's doing his job, and it's a good thing. Hallucinations. So basically, yeah, like the whole point of a delusion is like, if you believe something, and like everyone in the world is telling you that it's not true, you just go on believing it anyway. And in many ways, that's, pretty based. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking. It's all a satire. Hallucinations are perception-like experiences that occur without an external stimulus. Yeah. You know what we know what hallucinations here, okay? Dreg need more mod ? You know, if you ask, you shall receive. All right. I'll make you a mod. Boom. Add moderator. Yes. Good. Okay. Now we're gonna keep going. And that's it. That's the only time I'm doing that. Except. Okay. And in some other stream, all right, I'm going to just make whoever I think is going to be the worst mod, so that they can just ban everybody simultaneously. And we'll have a grand old time. But for now, I'm getting back into the swing of the whole doing live stuff. So, all right, disorganized speech, formal thought disorder is inferred from an individual's speech. They may switch from one topic to another. Answers to the question are obliquely related or completely unrelated. Speech is so disorganized it's nearly incomprehensible, resembling aphasia in its linguistic disorganization. Whoa. Because mildly disorganized speech is common and nonspecific, the symptom must be severe enough to substantially impair effective communication. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, catatonia. I'm interested in this. Catatonic behavior is a marked decrease in reactivity to the environment. This ranges from resistance to instructions, negativism, to maintaining a rigid, inappropriate, or bizarre posture. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like part of the whole catatonia idea is like you can be like frozen in a position. To a complete lack of verbal or motor responses, mutism and stupor. It can also include purposelessness and excessive motor activity without obvious cause, catatonic excitement. Okay, and then there's the negative symptoms of schizophrenia. I have a video on that coming eventually. Let's see here. Delusional disorder. Okay, and there's the diagnostic criteria. Let's read about schizotypal. Criteria and text for schizotypal personality disorder can be found in the chapter Personality Disorders. Because this disorder is considered part of the schizophrenia spectrum of disorders and is labeled in this section of ICD-9 and ICD-10 of schizotypal disorder, and is listed in this chapter and discussed. Okay, so it's not actually here, is it? You know what? We're going to use Control F because the chat said that I should use Control F, and so I will, because I am but a puppet wishing to serve. Okay. Let's see. 3. Schizotypal personality disorder captures a pervasive pattern of social and interpersonal deficits, including reduced capacity for close relationships, cognitive and or perceptual distortions, and eccentricities of behavior, usually beginning by early adulthood, but some cases first becoming apparent in childhood and adolescent. Abnormalities of beliefs, thinking, and perception are below the threshold for the diagnosis of psychotic disorder. Yeah. Okay. Like, for some reason I feel like I heard this. Alt F4, I don't think so. For some reason I heard this story of like this guy who really believed, like as a kid, chanting would like make things happen. And like, you know, if you chant for something long enough, it would just happen. So like he was always chanting on like hay barrels and stuff, and whenever something happened, he would be like, wow, I made it happen. And I don't know if that's schizotypal or if it's just like, that's just humanity. So, 1984. What do you want me to say about 1984? This is just a stream of consciousness here. You will not derail me. What? You think I will bend to the random things that you're saying? No, you can't be mod. Although, maybe later, but not now. I don't want to. No more reading. Okay, I gotta focus here. I'm gonna switch over to the myth of mental illness because I want to understand the whole radical mental health idea, or I guess the anti-psychiatry idea, which is, you know, a framework, as everything is, but something I'm not really that informed about. My aim in this essay is to raise the question, is there such thing as mental illness, and to argue that there's not. Wow, that's quite an opening statement there. Since the notion of mental illness is extremely widely used nowadays, inquiry into the ways in which this term is employed would seem to be especially indicated. Mental illness, of course, is not literally a thing or physical object, and hence it can exist only in the same sort of way in which other theoretical concepts exist. Okay, so have you ever heard the term egregore? Egregore, look that up. It's like you're summoning an intangible object with your mind, you know? So, if that's like, okay, like if I don't know, let's take an ideology. If an ideology is like a being, a creature or something moving through time, then maybe it's the same psychic entity in mental illness. Yet familiar theories are in the habit of posing sooner or later, at least to those who come to believe in them, as objective truths or facts. During certain historical periods, explanatory conceptions such as deities, witches, and microorganisms appear not only as theories but as self-evident causes of a vast number of events. I submit that today mental illness is widely regarded in a somewhat similar fashion, and that is as the cause of innumerable diverse happenings. As an antidote to the complacent use of the notion of mental illness, whether as a self-evident phenomenon, theory, or cause, let us ask this question. What is meant when it is asserted that someone is mentally ill? In what follows, I shall describe briefly the main uses to which the concept of mental illness has been put. Psychology is fake, and Sigmund Freud was a freaky coke addict. I feel bad about the Freud video, because I feel like I gave him like a bad rap, but at the same time, that was kind of the point. And I got Sisyphus 55 in there, so I have no regrets, actually. This was just a brief moment of a lapse in judgment. I have no regrets. Mental illness is a sign of brain disease. The notion of mental illness derives its main support from such phenomenon as syphilis of the brain. Speaking of syphilis, speaking of Sisyphus, is ADHD in the DSM-5? Because I keep hearing people say ADHD is not a mental illness. And the term mental illness is actually kind of like a weird term, because like dementia, we wouldn't really call a mental illness. You'd call that a neurological disorder, I think. And same maybe with schizophrenia. So, I don't know. Let's see. According to one school of thought, also called mental illness is of this type, like the brain disease type. This assumption is made that some neurological defect, perhaps a very subtle one, will ultimately be found for all the disorders of thinking and behavior. Many contemporary psychiatrists, physicians, and other scientists hold this view. The position implies that people cannot have troubles. All right, you know what? I'm getting what he's saying, but I don't really want to read the whole thing. Right now, I think I could probably read some more interesting stuff. So I'll come back to this. I do want to check out ADHD here, if it is here. There's two results for ADHD in the whole. Oh no, never mind. There's like 9. 12. Wow, the DSM-5 is a big book. All right, let's see. All right, that's not ADHD. The PDF is so big it's lagging, and I don't know how to feel about that. Let's see. Ooh. I don't know if you can see this, but yeah, you can see this. I think that sums it up. It's written in some alien moon language. No, we're going to keep going. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder defined by impairing levels of inattention, disorganization, and or hyperactivity, impulsivity. I thought it was an and hyperactivity, impulsivity. Like, if it's an or hyperactivity, impulsivity, then I don't see what the H is doing there. And then that's ADD, right? Because I'm trying to make like a good distinction between ADD and ADHD in my head. Like, it's paired with that hyperactivity. So that's how I envision it. Hyperactivity, impulsivity entails overactivity, fidgeting, inability to stay seated, intruding into other people's activities, and inability to wait. Symptoms that are excessive for age or developmental level. In childhood, ADHD frequently overlaps with disorders that are often considered to be externalizing disorders, such as oppositional defiant disorder and conduct disorder. ADHD often persists into adulthood with resultant impairments of social, academic, and occupational functioning. I really appreciate the constant movement of this chat. Like every 1 second, there's a comment. And so, if basically nothing stays, which is good in my mind. I mean, maybe it's etched into our collective subconsciousness or something, but I don't have to see it, and that's the important thing. Greek, more like Greek. Why am I reading my mod's comments? ADHD is a neurodevelopmental. Yeah, okay. In childhood, ADHD frequently overlaps with disorders like our external. Yeah, right. I mean, I feel like we all kind of know what ADHD is. I'm really just thinking like maybe we can find something we collectively don't know about ADHD. According to the DSM-5. Development and course. Because social pragmatic communication depends on adequate developmental progress in speech and language, diagnosis of social communication disorder is rare among children younger than 4. By age 4 or 5, most children should possess adequate speech and language abilities. Milder forms of the disorder may not become apparent until early adolescence. Okay, so wait, what is this exactly here? Oh, this is a social pragmatic communication disorder. I guess that's just when you don't develop like speech or like good communication. Where does gamer fall in the political axis? I have a video. I had an old video where like I was gonna release this, but I didn't. Essentially, look, if you're defining yourself as a gamer, it's kind of just like a funny thing you can do to distract the conversation away from the things that need to be talked about, and that's just an extended way of saying that you're a centrist, unless you're like a real hardcore gamer who wants to plug himself into the Matrix, and then we can bundle you into the transhumanists. We're gonna keep going. Social anxiety disorder. Social phobia. The symptoms of social communication disorder overlaps with those of social anxiety disorder. The differentiating feature is the timing of the onset of symptoms. In social pragmatic communication disorder, the individual has never had effective social communication. In social anxiety disorder, the social communication skills developed appropriately, but are not utilized because of anxiety, fear, or distress about social interaction. Intellectual disability and global developmental delay. Social communication skills may be deficient among individuals with global developmental delay or intellectual disability, but a separate diagnosis is not given unless the social communication deficits are clearly in excess of the intellectual limitations. I don't know what the fuck I just read. So it seems like we might be between a rock and a hard place between these two papers that I've... ADHD is an invitation from the military pharmaceutical complex to peddle amphetamine. True or false? Listen. True. That's it. Anything that people do in No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke. Lots of people have their lives improved through ADHD medication. And that's maybe because we've optimized around making a bunch of people like do. But nevertheless, it helps them. I love the beard. Thank you. I mean, everybody loves. I actually only like it because it makes me seem more like homeless. What you said, gamer, to a question about your political beliefs. Doesn't that mean you're a centrist? No, I was lying. I flipped the coin, it said false, I lied. The role of ethics in psychiatry. Anything that people do in contrast to the things that happen to them takes place in the context of value. In this broad sense, no human activity is devoid of ethical implications. When the values underlying certain activities are widely shared, those who participate in the pursuit may lose sight of them altogether. Back to the DSM. I want to go back to the table of contents. There's 1,000 pages in the DSM, which I kind of makes sense. I really like how some stuff just falls in and out of being canon. Sexual dysfunctions. All right. I mean, wait a second. No. I think the fact that I just said that probably means this stream is demonetized at the very least. No, we have to play it safe here. Like we really have to play it safe. You know what? No, we don't. What am I saying? All right, let's do it. 423. All right, fine. That being said, there is like a lot of pages we got to get through. Brave New World, a book on why this is a bad idea. I don't want to. Yeah, no, it's completely true actually. What am I saying? 423. You know, that's the thing. That's the thing about live. Sometimes words just come out of your mouth. 423. Okay. You know, I've never had a PDF lag on me before, but this is where we're at. Where the PDF is lagging on me. Now, if I was a real alpha chat, I wouldn't even bring attention to this. I would probably just distract you while it loads. So. Hey, look, I'm the anarcho-capitalist character. I like money. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Oh, look. I'm the authoritarian rights character. I bet I'm going to say something really inappropriate and funny. And everyone's going to say, wow, that's so funny. Wow. Okay, it's still loading. This is very disappointing. I suppose I could just read this. It's like crashed or something. How embarrassing. I'm just gonna refresh it. And while we're refreshing that, wait, I missed that. DSM-5 is my favorite nonfiction of all time. Have you gotten to histrionic personality disorder yet? Okay. I think I could probably get to that. But, ooh, you're making some progress? All right, we're gonna do it. Histrionic. Worst case scenario, I guess I could just Google it. But, okay, no, I could do that. So wait, let's see, histrionic. So there's cluster A personality disorders. I actually don't know this. Cluster B personality disorders, and then cluster C personality disorders. And I wonder what makes them clustered in that way. So cluster A is paranoid personality disorder, schizoid personality disorder, schizotypal personality disorder. And then cluster B is antisocial, borderline, narcissistic. I've never heard of histrionic. Okay. Well, let's just look up histrionic and see what we get. You know what? Is this what happened last time? Oh my god. Comorbidity. All right, let's see. Compared with individuals with major depressive disorder and no comorbid substance use disorder, those with substance medication. Okay, here's the case, by the way, to recommend ADHD medication to everybody, right? Even if you're not ADHD. Everyone's life would just be straight up better. We'd all have straight up better lives. So think about that. Except the 3% of people who have some kind of psychotic disorder in their family, and that would probably trigger them to be permanently psychotic, because it would be like frying their dopamine receptors, and if you mess up your dopamine, then you'll very likely become schizophrenic. So, but anyways, histrionic and antisocial personality disorder are less likely to have persistent depressive disorders. Okay, right. We're still looking for what histrionic personality disorder even is. Floating around. I probably should just keep it to one section, but a pattern of excessive emotionality and attention seeking. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. And I wonder how that differs from borderline. Pattern of instability in interpersonal relationships, self-image, and affects. And marked impulsivity. All right. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. Huh. There was these guys on Twitter called Tales from the DSM-5, and they got totally bodied on Twitter because they were asking Twitter permission as to whether or not they could make a series with all these personality disorders as characters. And that was a big mistake, because you just shouldn't ask permission, you should just do it. and then live with the consequences of your wretched existence. Includes antisocial, borderline, histrionic, and narcissistic personality disorders. By the way, I think they should do it anyways, though. Individuals with these disorders often appear dramatic, emotional, or erratic. Cluster C includes avoidant, dependent, and obsessive-compulsive personality disorders. Individuals with these disorders often appear anxious or fearful. It should be noted that this clustering system, although useful in some research and educational situations, has serious limitations and has not been consistently validated. So, that's interesting. So cluster A is paranoid, schizoid, schizotypal. It seems like, okay, so like cluster A is like odd or eccentric. Cluster B is antisocial, borderline, histrionic, narcissistic. Okay, so I could probably remember this actually. Cluster A this is like begging for a war series where there's like, I actually could see how what I'm saying could rub people the wrong way. Yeah, no, I can see it. Maybe I can see it a little too much because now I don't want to say what I was going to say, but I mean, come on. Look, the cluster A people are all these weird gesture-like folk. The cluster B people, they're like the red nana. Cluster C. Individuals with these disorders often appear anxious or fearful. It should be noted that this clustering system, although useful in some research and educational situations, has serious limitations and has not been consistently validated. Moreover, individuals frequently present with the co-occurring personality disorders from different clusters. Prevalence estimates for the different clusters suggest 5.7% for disorders in cluster A, 1.5% for disorders in cluster B, 6% for disorders in cluster C, and 9.1% for any personality disorder, indicating frequent co-occurrence of disorder from different clusters. I guess, okay, I'm slowly learning. I more understand that it's amount of I can't understand. Right. I've also never heard of a person with histrionic personality disorder. So, what was I saying? I've become distracted. Oh, what I'm saying is I should probably just focus on the big picture stuff, instead of like worrying about all the little stats and stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do. God, I hate being humanized. All right. Dimensional models for personality disorders. Okay. Diagnostic approach used in this manual represents the categorical perspective that personality disorders are quantitatively distinct clinical syndromes. An alternative to the categorical approach is the dimensional perspective that personality disorders represent maladaptive variants of personality traits that merge imperceptibly into normality into one another. Okay. That second one seems a lot more like the case to me, based off my lack of information. Neurotypicide. Part 2 of mental illnesses. Be there or be square. But we have to get through episode 4 and 5 first. And right now I'm working on a mixing issue with the song in episode 4. So. But soon. An enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that deviates markedly from the expectation of the individual's culture. Pattern manifested in 2 or more of the following areas: cognition, affectivity, interpersonal functioning, impulse control. The enduring pattern is inflexible and pervasive across a broad range of personal and social situations. The enduring pattern leads to clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of function. Pattern is stable and long duration. Okay, so this is general personality disorder? Damn. Imagine having a general personality disorder. That's rough. Like, it's just like the whole thing has to go. All right, I didn't want to Google or navigate away from this page, but I'm curious. General personality disorder. Boom. Borderline, obsessive, compulsive, avoidant, schizotypal, antisocial, narcissistic. Oh, I was wrong. You know what? You can't even see what I'm looking at right now, so it's fine. Let's just pretend like I didn't make that mistake. This is the problem when you're like reading a book non-linearly. But the problem with reading a book linearly is that you're fucking lame. Ooh. I shouldn't have swore. I regret swearing, and I think I just probably lost some monetization if I hadn't lost it already. But you know what? Maybe I should swear, because in that case, you lose the monetization, and then you are free. You're free from monetization. Okay. Let's see. Post-traumatic stress disorder. When personality changes emerge and persist after an individual is exposed to extreme stress, post-traumatic stress disorder should be considered. Substance use disorders. That's one that's definitely on the line, especially in terms of including it into like mental illnesses, because it's not what you would associate with mental illnesses, but definitely there's a good case to be made that it is. Very good case to be made that it is. It's like an induced mental illness. Personality change due to another medical condition. Okay, paranoid personality disorder. Let's see. I think we're a little too deep into the personality disorder end of things, but at the same time, this book is so thick that even like on my computer, navigating from point A to point B is like schizoid. Oh no. All right, fine. We'll just read it. Oh, okay. Actually, no. I want to read this. Ideas of reference, odd beliefs. So this is schizotypal. I should point that out. A pervasive pattern of social interpersonal deficits, marked by acute discomfort with and reduced capacity for close relationships, as well as by cognitive or perceptual distortions and eccentricities of behavior. Right. So it's like you're like kind of schizophrenic, but you can still live a normal life, but you're like kind of schizophrenic. Beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts and indicated by 5 or more of the following. Ideas of reference, including delusions of reference. Right. So I'm pretty sure the difference between ideas of reference and delusions of reference is like when you're like, you think the radio is talking to you, but you know you're probably just, your brain is going wrong, something's gone wrong with your head. And delusions of reference is when no one can convince you out of your delusion. Like everyone's telling you the radio's not talking to you, you're just insane, and then you don't believe them. Odd beliefs or magical thinking that influences behavior and is inconsistent with subcultural norms. Superstitiousness, belief in clairvoyance, telepathy, sixth sense, bizarre fantasies or preoccupations. Okay. Odd thinking in speech, suspiciousness or paranoid ideation, inappropriate or constricted affect, behavior or appearance that is odd. Behavior or appearance that is odd. Lack of close friends, excessive social anxiety. Yeah. Unusual perceptual experiences. I wonder if you could have schizotypal but still have close friends. Like, ideas of reference, say you have that. Perceptual experiences, odd beliefs, odd thinking in speech, suspiciousness or paranoid ideation. I don't know. I think, yeah, it's probably only a personality disorder when, like, the person with it would rather not have it. But who knows? The essential feature of schizotypal personality disorder is a pervasive pattern of social and interpersonal defects, right? Individuals with schizotypal have ideas of reference, often have ideas of reference. These should be distinguished from delusions of reference, in which beliefs are held with delusional conviction. These ideas may be superstitious or preoccupied with paranormal phenomenon outside the norms of their subculture. They may feel they have special power to sense events before they happen or read others' thoughts. They may believe that they have a magical control over others which can be implemented directly. Example, believing that their spouse is taking their dog for a walk is a direct result of thinking an hour earlier that should be done. Right. What's that called? It's like you think you're drawing these connections between these unrelated things. Or indirectly through compliance with magical rituals. Their speech may include unusual or idiosyncratic phrasing and construction. It is often loose, digressive, or vague. but without actual derailment or incoherence. Responses can be either overly concrete or overly abstract, and words or concepts are sometimes applied in unusual ways. That's the thing with schizophrenia as well. Like, they often say, like, you won't be able to say, oh, between, like, if someone says, like, oh, I'm between a rock and a hard place, you're like, does you literally take it as being between a rock and a hard place. And I think that's an example of taking it concretely. But I just looked out my window and I realized it was a Saturday night, and here I am, alone. Individuals with this disorder are often suspicious and they have paranoid ideation. They are usually not able to negotiate the full range of affects and interpersonal cueing required for successful relationships, and thus often appear to interact with others in an inappropriate, stiff, or constricted fashion. These individuals are often to be considered odd or eccentric because of unusual mannerisms, and often unkempt manner of dress that does not quite fit together, and inattention to the usual social conventions. Individuals with schizotypal personality disorder experience interpersonal relatedness as problematic and are uncomfortable relating to other people. Although they express unhappiness about their lack of relationships, their behavior suggests a decreased desire for intimate contacts. Okay, all right, I get it. Huh. I don't think I understood it fully before, but now I think I do. Schizotypal ranges from 0.6 in Norwegian samples to 4.6 in US community samples. That can't be right. There's no way. That's insane. That's 5%. That's way too much. Doesn't make sense. Prevalence of schizotypal personality disorder in clinical populations seems to be infrequent, 0 to 1.9%, with a higher estimated prevalence in the general population, 4%, found in National Epidemiology Survey of alcohol and related conditions. Am I missing something? Like, am I missing something? Stanford has some good videos on schizo. Yeah, I think probably like a good portion of my knowledge about schizophrenia, maybe like 30% of it, is from that one guy, he's got a bushy beard. I guess I could look it up. Stanford schizophrenia. Yes, Sapolsky. Robert Sapolsky. Yeah, I mean, that's a good intro if you're interested in it. He's a good orator. All right, let's see. Let me just skim through the whole myth of mental illness thing again. All right, let's see. Mental illness are thus regarded as basically no different from all other diseases, right? The only difference in this view, the classic it's a chemical imbalance hypothesis, is between mental and bodily diseases, is that the former affecting the brain manifest themselves by means of mental symptoms, whereas the latter affecting other organ systems manifest themselves by means of symptoms referable to those parts of the body. This view rests on and expresses what are, in my opinion, two fundamental errors. I think one thing to keep in mind, though, is like your brain is part of your body, right? So, yeah. In the first place, what central nervous systems would correspond to a skin eruption or a fracture? It would not be some emotion or complex bit of behavior. Rather, it would be blindness or a paralysis of some part of the body. The crux of the matter is that a disease of the brain, analogous to a disease of the skin or bone, is a neurological defect and not a problem in living. For example, a defect in a person's visual field may be satisfactorily explained by correlating it with certain definite lesions in the nervous system. On the other hand, a person's belief, whether this is Christianity, in communism, or in the idea that his internal organs are rotting and that his body is in fact already dead, cannot be explained by a defect or disease in the nervous system. Naming them is in therapy. Telling someone their leg is broken won't help them walk again. It's a interesting thought. Explanations of this sort of occurrence, assuming that one is interested in the belief itself and does not regard it simply as a symptom or expression of something else, is that it is more interesting, must be sought along different lines. The second area in regarding complex psychosocial behavior, consisting of communications about ourselves and the world about us as mere symptoms of neurological functioning, is epistemological. In other words, it makes the error of pertaining to not to any mistakes in observation of reasoning as such, but rather to the way we organize and express our knowledge. Okay. I get it. Mental illness as a name for problems in living. Mental illness is widely used to describe something which is very different than a disease of the brain. Many people today take it for granted that living is an arduous process. Its hardship for a modern man, moreover, derives not so much from a struggle for biological survival as from the stresses and strains inherent in the social intercourse of complex human personalities. In this context, the notion of mental illness is used to identify or describe some feature of an individual's so-called personality. Mental illness is a deformity of the personality, so to speak, is then regarded as the cause of the human disharmony. It is implicit in this view that social intercourse between people is regarded as something inherently harmonious, its disturbance being due solely to the presence of mental illness in many people. This is obviously fallacious reasoning, for it makes the abstraction of mental illness into a cause, even though the abstraction was created in the first place to serve only as a shorthand expression for certain types of human behavior. It now becomes necessary to ask what kinds of behavior are regarded as indicative of mental illness, and by whom. Is it by the centrist establishment? Is this joke tired yet? Yes, that's why I rebranded. Oh, all right, cool. The concept of mental illness, whether bodily or mentally, implies deviation from some clearly defined norm. In the case of physical illness, the norm is the structural and functional integrity of the human body. Thus, although the desirability of physical health as such is an ethical value, what health is can be stated in anatomical and physiological terms. What is the norm deviation from which is regarded as mental illness? The question cannot be easily answered, but whatever this norm might be, we can be certain of one thing, namely that it is a norm that must be stated in terms of psychosocial, ethical, and legal concepts. I think I'm going to use my Twitch stream as I will do edgier stuff here because I have less built on that platform, and so it won't, be a big deal. So, twitch.tv/Dregory. I'll read like the Unabomber Manifesto or whatever. The notion of mental symptom is therefore inextricably tied to the social, including ethical context, in which it is made in much the same way as the notion of bodily symptom is tied to an anatomical and genetic context. Yeah. I have tried to show that for those who regard mental symptoms as signs of brain disease, the concept of mental illness is unnecessary and misleading. For what they mean is that people so labeled suffer from diseases of the brain. And if that is what they mean, it would seem better for the sake of clarity to say that and not something else. Right. All right. Let's keep going. These considerations underscore the importance of asking the question, whose agent is the psychiatrist? And I'm giving a candid answer to it. The psychiatrist, psychologist, or non-medical psychotherapist it now develops may be agent of the patient, of the relatives, of the school, of the military service, of business organization, of the court of law, and so forth. In speaking of the psychiatrist as the agent of these persons or organizations, it is not implied that his values concerning norms or his ideas and aims concerning the proper nature of remedial action need to coincide exactly with those of his employer. For example, a patient in individual psychotherapy may believe that his salvation lies in a new marriage. His psychotherapist need not share this hypothesis. As the patient's agent, however, he must abstain from bringing social or legal force to bear on his patient, which would prevent him from putting his beliefs into action. If his contract to the patient, the psychiatrist, may disagree with him or stop his treatment, but he cannot engage others to obstruct the patient's aspirations. Similarly, if a psychiatrist is engaged by a court to determine the sanity of a criminal, he need not fully share the legal authority's values and intentions in regard to the criminal and the means for dealing with him. But the psychiatrist is expressly barred from stating, for example, that it is not the criminal who is insane, but the man who wrote the law on the basis of which the very actions are being judged and regarded as criminal. Such an opinion could be voiced, of course, but not in the courtroom and not by a psychiatrist who makes it his practice to assist the court in performing its daily work. In actual contemporary social usage, the finding of mental illness is made by establishing a deviance in behavior from certain parapsychosocial, social, ethical, or legal norms. All right. I think I get it. Let's just skip to the conclusion, huh? This is what I do with scientific studies. I'm just like, what's the conclusion? I have tried to show that the notion of mental illness has outlived whatever usefulness it might have had, and that it now functions merely as a convenient myth. As such, it is a true heir to religious myths in general. Wow, this... Very interesting. Szazz really is an anti-centrist. The role of all these belief systems was to act as a social tranquilizer, thus encouraging the hope that mastery of certain specific problems may be achieved by a means of substitutive symbolic magical operations. You know what I should read at some point? It's like Guide to Revolution or something. No, that's not it. Rebels, Revolution. I'll figure it out. But it was something along the lines of like a bipartisan. I mean, it was like I think it was a leftist guide for revolution, but I think it was appreciated by basically every extremist. The myth of mental illness encourages us, moreover, to believe in its logical corollary that social intercourse would be harmonious, satisfying, and the secure basis of good life. Were it not for the disrupting influences of mental illness or psychopathology, the potentiality for universal human happiness in this form, at least, seems to me but another example of I wish it were true type fantasy. I do not believe that human happiness or well-being on a hitherto unimaginably large scale, and not just for a select few, is possible. This goal could be achieved, however, only at the cost of many men, and not just a few being willing and able to tackle their personal and social and ethical conflicts. This means having the courage and integrity to forego waging battles on false fronts, finding solutions for substitute problems, for instance, fighting the battle of stomach acid and chronic fatigue, instead of facing up to a marital conflict. Our adversaries are not demons, witches, fate, or mental illness. Ooh, putting them all together. Well, we have our problems in living, whether these be biologic, economic, political, or socio-psychological. In this essay, I was concerned only with problems belonging in the last mentioned category, and with this group, mainly with those pertaining to moral values. The field in which modern psychiatry addresses itself is vast, and I made no effort to encompass it all. My argument was limited to the preposition that mental illness is a myth, whose function is to disguise it and thus render more palatable the bitter pill of moral conflicts in human relations. So, it's a spook. That's what he's saying. But the question then, I guess, is well, what happens when someone starts seeing things? Obviously, he's not just imagining it. It's not just a spook. So, I mean, well, he is just imagining it, but it's... Let's see. Freud pops up here. Choice, responsibility, and psychiatry. All right, back to the DSM-5. Back to the DSM-5 we go. All right, let's see what we got. Let's just flip to a random page. Any recommendations for pages to flip to? I will just flip. Ooh. What if I just type in, say, oh, no, it's frozen. Excellent. Good. I'm glad to see it. All right, you know what? I'll just while it's loading, I'll just read the chat. What could go wrong? ADHD BDSM. Please talk about Amogus. I'm getting those numbers now, and however, my PDF seems to have crashed. Maybe I could find DSM-5 Lite, huh? Is there a pocket edition? No. PDF? I guess we could just skip to a section which is smaller. I haven't really read much about autism. Is the example behavior clearly atypical? Is the example behavior present across multiple contexts? I guess this is just a... Nah, this isn't helpful. Maybe it is. Okay, so apparently there's 3 levels of autism spectrum disorder. There's requiring support. Without supports in place, deficits are noticeable, causing noticeable impairments. Difficulty initiating social interaction demonstrates clear examples of atypical or unsuccessful responses to social overtures. May appear to have decreased interest in social interaction. Okay. Restricted interests, rituals, and repetitive behaviors cause significant interference with functioning in one or more contexts. Resists attempts by others to interrupt RRBs or to be redirected from fixated interest. Right. Level 2, requiring substantial support. Marked deficits in verbal and nonverbal social communication skills. Social impairments apparent even with supports in place. Limited initiation of social interaction and reduced or abnormal response to social overtures from others. Okay. So I think, so level 2, it starts hitting like verbal and nonverbal communication skills. And level 1, it's more like a difficulty initiating it, maybe. RRBs, that's rituals, appear frequently enough to be obvious to the casual observer and interfere with functioning in a variety of contexts. Distress or function is apparent when RRBs are interrupted, difficult to redirect from fixated interest. And then level 3 is substantial support. Severe deficits in verbal and nonverbal social communication skills cause severe impairment in functioning. Very limited initiation of social interactions and minimal response to social overtures from others. And then restricted interests, preoccupation, fixated rituals, markedly interfere with functioning in all spheres. Marked distress when rituals or routines are interrupted. Very difficult to redirect from fixated interest or returns to it quickly. Oh, okay. Interesting. But this isn't the DSM-5, eh? This is just like Laura Carpenter, PhD, February 2013. So, anyway, I think this is loaded. I think I got 294. Okay, I can do 294. What we're going to do is it better not fucking crash again. I mean, nah, it's fine. I said it. Okay, don't crash, please. Please. Here's what we're going to do, all right? Your apartment looks nice. If only you knew. If only you knew. There was a brief note on gender differences. Sex and gender differences as they relate. Right. Like estrogen, you're less likely to become psychotic if you have estrogen. So women are less likely to become psychotic, and if they do become psychotic, it's less severe psychosis. The terms gender difference is used in the DSM-5 because more commonly the differences between men and women are a result of both biological sex and individual self-representation. However, some of the differences are based only on biological sex. Okay. That is interesting. Stuttering. Stuttering is boring. Look, stuttering is interesting and all, but we're after the brain things. The things in the brain. Obviously, stuttering is also happening in the brain. I don't even know what we're talking about. Culture differences, right, okay. Gender-related diagnostic issues. Autism spectrum disorder is diagnosed 4 times more often in males than in females. In clinic samples, females tend to be more likely to show accompanying intellectual disability, suggesting that girls without accompanying intellectual impairments or language delays may go unrecognized, perhaps because of subtler manifestations of social and communication difficulties. Oh, so you're like, autism spectrum is diagnosed more often in males, but it could be just as common in females, but just not recognized as much. Okay, this is interesting. Rett syndrome. Disruption of social interaction may be observed during the regressive phase of Rett syndrome. Selective mutism. The affected child usually exhibits appropriate communication skills in certain contexts and settings. Even in settings where the child is mute, social reciprocity is not impaired, nor are restricted or repetitive patterns of behavior present. So you can still be like a social mute person, I guess. I wonder what. So this is a differential diagnosis, right? So I don't know what a differential diagnosis is. I guess it's like something you could diagnose them as instead of autistic. Stereotypic movement disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, schizophrenia. Oof. Yeah, I heard a story of like, well, I didn't hear a story. I watched a YouTube video. Basically, it's these parents trying to, like, diagnose their kid, and they have, I think they must have had a schizophrenic kid, which is super rare. And then the father thought that the second kid was also rare. So it was also schizophrenic, which would be like a 1 in a million chance. And I think the mom thought he was autistic. So that was the debate. I really am trying to get to 294 so that I can read about dissociative identity disorder and then do this. But instead, we'll just do ketamine. Wonderful. Okay, we're on our way to 294. All right, we're going to just be pushing through. We're on 93. Ooh, brief psychotic disorder. I guess that's like when you have like a bit of psychosis lingering after you do something psychoactive, maybe? But I don't know. Schizophreniform, that's when you have these things for over 1 month but less than 6 months, like delusions, hallucinations, I think. Might be wrong. We're pushing on. All right, you know what? We can take a risk. I'm just going to type in 237, and we're going to jump 100 pages forward, and then it's going to crash. But listen. Oh, it worked. It worked. All right, so we're getting closer to the dissociative identity disorders. Closer, but not quite there. Okay, agoraphobia. That's when you have a fear of flying, I think. Oh, no, that's a fear of going outside. That's a different thing. Criterion B of agoraphobia can be useful in differentiating agoraphobia from a specific phobia. Okay. Social anxiety disorder. What is the question? What is the point of diagnosing somebody? And the answer is, obviously exists for a reason. Gives you a medication that you can take to make your life better. That's the idea. That's the idea. Huh? That's the idea. That's the idea. Separation anxiety disorder, panic disorder. We're on our way. Someone remind me the page I'm supposed to go to, okay? Because I forget. Dissociative identity disorder. Was it like 294? The thing is, I can't actually just type it in. Oh, I can. I have to do some math. So let's see. 246 minus 208 equals, doesn't tell me. Okay, that's fine. 38. So I basically just have to find the thing that I want to go to and then add 38. Or subtract. Yeah, add 38. So 294. Okay, thank you for that. 294. And then, let's see. 294 minus 38 is 256. That's off the top of my head. That was math. I was just typing it in the calculator to double check. So yeah, we're going 256. No, I did it wrong. Okay. We're going to go back. we're going to go back, and we're going to do 38 plus 294 plus 38. And we're going to get 332. What does 332 mean? Two threes. 332. 2 3s. All the dots are connecting in my mind. Finally, I understand everything. Yes, we're going to... Hi, welcome to my ASMR channel. This is clearly like something going on beyond just the shivers down your spine. It's clearly something. I don't want to say related to something a little bit more than just the sounds. Maybe there's like a chill running down your spine and moving towards other places. What was I talking about? 332. 332. Boom. First comment on my channel ever was from an ASMR channel. She was a French ASMR person who put makeup on. And you just listen to her put makeup on. And there's no way she watched my videos. It was probably just like a spam bot or something. And that's my only experience with ASMR. I really thought I was going to get it, but Dreg, why did you go full Bo Burnham and stop shaving? Anyone mentions no. I realized that was a bad idea. Anyone mentions Bo Burnham again, okay? And you're out. No one's talking about Bo Burnham, okay? God. Bo Burnham. Anyways, dissociative identity disorder. Alright. Functional consequences of dissociative identity disorder. Suicide risk. 70% of outpatients with dissociative identity disorder have attempted suicide. Multiple attempts are common and other self-injurious behavior is frequent. Okay. Gender-related diagnostic issues. Females with dissociative identity disorder predominate in adult clinical settings, but not in child clinical settings. Adult male with dissociative identity disorder may deny their symptoms and trauma histories, and this can lead to elevated rates of false negative diagnosis. Females with dissociative identity disorder present more frequently with acute dissociative states. Males commonly exhibit more criminal or violent behavior than females. Among males, common triggers of acute dissociative states include combat, prison conditions, and physical assaults. No more Bo Burnham, okay? No more talking about Bo Burnham. No more thinking about Bo Burnham. No more calling Bo Burnham the voice of our generation, okay? There's nothing quite like somebody like you to make you feel a certain way, a certain specific kind of way. It's like looking in the mirror. Let's see. So these are differential diagnoses. So those are things you could, I guess, diagnose instead. You know what? I'm going to look that up. Differential diagnosis. Process wherein a doctor differentiates between two or more conditions that could be behind a person's symptoms. When making a diagnosis, a doctor may have a single theory as to the cause of a person's symptoms. They may then order tests to confirm their suspected diagnosis. So it's basically just like trying to figure out if it's this one or that one. A list of possible conditions or diseases that could be causing your symptoms. Oh, okay. Oh, so these are things that cause disassociation. Oh, that makes more sense. We're learning. We're learning. Wonderful. Okay, listen. No one mentioned Joji. No one mentioned Bo Burnham. No one mentioned I don't know, who else do I get compared to? Is that it? I don't want to worry about it. You know, you sometimes you get so focused on being other people that you like you forget to be yourself, you know? Let's see. If you won't tell us what your political ideology is, can you at least do me the favor of at least narrowing it down and telling us one of the 3 quadrants you're not politically tied to? Well, that's a invalid question. I don't know why everyone thinks that it's a mystery. I specifically spelled out what my beliefs are, unironically. And it is an allegiance with, well, first of all, the political compass isn't a good way of describing it, but if you wanted to use that framework, then you would literally just take out the center of it with like scissors or something, and then that's what you'd get. Some traumatized individuals have both post-traumatic stress disorder and dissociative identity disorder. Accordingly, it is crucial to distinguish between individuals with PTSD only and individuals who have both PTSD and dissociative identity disorder. Right. The differential diagnosis requires that the clinician establish the presence or absence of dissociative symptoms that are not characteristic of acute stress disorders or PTSD. Okay. So these things can cause dissociative identity disorder. Psychotic disorders, bipolar disorders, post-traumatic stress disorders. That's a really high rate. Okay, let's read the Okay. I'll put in like a time limit here, because we don't want to be here all night. All right. It's, how long have I been going for? Let me see. Stream settings. I've started at around 8. I'll do 10 minutes. 10 minutes more. Depersonalization, derealization disorder is characterized by clinically significant, persistent, or recurrent depersonalization and or derealization. These alterations of experience are accompanied by intact reality testing. There is no evidence of any distinction between individuals with predominantly depersonalization versus derealization symptoms. Therefore, individuals with this disorder can have depersonalization, derealization, or both. Dissociative amnesia is characterized by an inability to recall autobiographical information. This amnesia may be localized, selective, or generalized. Dissociative amnesia is fundamentally an inability to recall autobiographical information that is inconsistent with normal forgetting. Here's my face when the imposter is sus. It may or may not involve purposeful travel or bewildered wandering, although some individuals with amnesia promptly notice that they have lost time or that they have a gap in their memory. Most individuals with dissociative identity disorders are initially unaware of their amnesias. For them, awareness of amnesia occurs when personal identity is lost, or when circumstances make these individuals aware that autobiographical information is missing. Amnesia is experienced as an essential feature of dissociative identity disorder. Dissociative fugue is rare in persons with dissociative amnesia, common in dissociative identity disorder. Okay, I've learned a lot. I wonder if there's anything I should do to like cap off this stream. He's building up to the Dollar Shave Club ad. I am a schizo. I wonder if I've done a great harm to the world by normalizing just... you know what? I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure it was already like that. That's how I sleep at night. Disruption of... you know what? Say that you support Futanari rights. I'm too agreeable to be like a Twitch streamer because I think you have to be like super disagreeable and just be like hate everybody, like low key, but like, you know, and like just be obsessed with playing these power games where you stick to your own framework instead of getting distracted. Catatonic stupor. You know what? I'm gonna call it a day here. However, read Not Safe for Work Centricide fanfiction. Yeah. Nazi breaks the 3 rules she'd set up for herself. Without rules, nothing gets done. Nazi knows this, which is why she has won for almost everything. ANCOM screeches at her because there's more don'ts than do's, but the sacrifice is well worth it in the promise of a strong traditional homeland. Rule number 1 of Centricide: your compatriots are necessary, but temporary. ANCAP is tolerable when she doesn't bitch about stocks. And besides, ANCAP is as much of an accessory to Nazi as her designer heels are to her feet. ANCOM is banned from getting within a 10-foot radius of Nazi. I promised myself I would never do this. Okay. No. No more of this. No more. None. Later, maybe. I actually had meant to do like a stream where I read the fan fiction, and then I was like, I would probably like knock a couple years off my life if I did. I had a good time. I had a great time. I learned a lot of wonderful information, and yeah, I think it's time to go to bed. And by that I mean watch people walk by, having a good time. Okay? So I appreciate you coming. I'm always glad to see. Read Deleuze's Anti-Oedipus. That's actually, yeah, Anti-Weed. Oedipus. I'm going to do that. All right? Okay. So, thanks for coming. I appreciate you. I do, genuinely. Although I probably have to make like a... You know what I mean when I say it, and I don't have to make any kind of disclaimer. Bye.